The misrouted signal, the binary stars of the Lycera system, cast a gentle lavender glow across the crystalline structures of New Harmony, the first deep space colony of the Artathi consensus. The colony's elegant spires and graceful arches reflected the dual sunlight in shimmering patterns that would have been considered breathtaking by any species capable of appreciating beauty. First Minister Talara stood at the observation dome, her translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of contentment as she watched the agricultural domes activate their morning light cycles. 6 months since their arrival, and the colony was thriving beyond all projections. The Artathi had evolved on a gentle world with stable seasons and few natural predators, allowing them to develop a civilization built around cooperation rather than competition. Their technological advancement had been steady but deliberate, focused on harmony with their environment rather than domination of it. Minister, the supply vessels report successful harvests in all sectors, announced Sub-Coordinator Rivan, his skin glowing with patches of satisfied blue. The Council will be pleased with our progress reports. Talara's own bioluminescence rippled, with pleasure. Excellent. Our first official transmission to the homeworld is scheduled for tomorrow's alignment. I want to— A discordant alarm tone, rare in Artathi society, interrupted her. The observation dome's peaceful atmosphere shattered as emergency lights pulsed an urgent violet warning pattern. Perimeter sensors detecting multiple unidentified vessels, reported the colony's central intelligence, its voice calibrated to remain calm despite the emergency protocols activating throughout the settlement. Approaching from the system's outer boundary, configuration unknown, not matching any consensus registry. Talara felt her skin flush with concern yellow. The Artathi consensus occupied 7 star systems, all neighboring their homeworld. They had encountered only 2 other spacefaring species in their 3 centuries of expansion, both peaceful. This far from established routes, an unannounced visit was troubling. Open communications channels, she ordered. Standard greeting, protocols. Minutes passed with no response from the approaching vessels. The Central Intelligence displayed their trajectory on the dome's interface, a direct intercept course with New Harmony. Still no response to communications, Rivan reported, his skin now pulsing with anxiety. The vessels are— Minister, they're accelerating. The Central Intelligence's display updated, showing the approaching ship's design. Unlike the smooth organic curves of Artathi vessels, these were angular, asymmetrical, bristling with protruding structures that seemed designed for no purpose Talara could recognize. Magnification, she requested. The image enlarged, revealing scorch marks on the hulls and strange jagged symbols painted across their sides. Before Talara could process this information, the lead vessel fired something toward the colony. Impact. Imminent, announced the Central Intelligence, its voice finally betraying urgency. Defense fields activating. The Artathi had no weapons. Their defense fields were designed to protect against radiation and micrometeorites, not deliberate attack. The projectile tore through the field as if it weren't there, striking one of the orbital platforms. The explosion bloomed silently in the vacuum, debris spiraling outward. Evacuation protocols, Talara ordered, her voice steady despite the shock coursing through her system. Get everyone to the shelter chambers. Minister. Riven's voice trembled, his skin now ash-gray with fear. We have no defensive capabilities. No, Talara replied. Send the distress signal to the consensus immediately, maximum priority. The colony's communication array powered up, directing a tightly focused transmission toward Artathi space. The message contained everything: sensor readings of the attacking vessels, visual data, and the colony's coordinates. Signal sent. Confirmed, the Central Intelligence. How long until the consensus can dispatch aid? Rivan asked, though they both knew the answer. The nearest patrol vessel is 3 days away at maximum velocity, Talara answered softly. Another impact rocked the colony, this one closer to the central hub. Through the observation dome, Talara watched as smaller craft detached from the attacking vessels heading toward the colony's docking bays. They're boarding us, she whispered. What neither Talara nor anyone else in the colony knew was that their distress signal had encountered a rare subspace anomaly, a folded pocket of space-time, that occasionally formed near certain types of binary stars. The signal bounced off this anomaly, redirected along an entirely different vector. Instead of reaching the Artathi consensus, the distress call traveled across 100 light-years of empty space before being detected by a listening post at the edge of territory controlled by an entirely different species, one the Artathi had never encountered, one the consensus deliberately avoided. Admiral Elena Chen rubbed her temples, staring at the data packet displayed on her ready room screen. Aboard the UES Intrepid, at 53 with steel-gray hair pulled into a tight bun and eyes that had seen 3 decades of military service, she had developed an instinct for trouble. This qualified. "You're certain about the translation?" she asked. "Lieutenant Commander," Sanjay Patel nodded. "The language is unlike anything in our database, but the mathematical patterns indicating distress are universal. The signal includes visual data showing the attack in progress." Chen examined the images again. Sleek, crystalline structures being systematically destroyed by angular, predatory vessels. The attacker's design reminded her of the asymmetrical aesthetic favored by the pirate confederations operating in the Cygnus Arm. "Any identification on either party?" she asked. "Negative, Admiral. Neither the attacked nor attackers match any species we've catalogued." Patel hesitated. "There's something else. This signal wasn't directed at us." Chen's eyebrow raised. "It appears to have been redirected by some kind of spatial anomaly. Based on the signal trajectory, it was intended for a recipient approximately 40 light-years rimward of these coordinates." "So they weren't calling us for help," Chen said quietly. "No, ma'am. They don't even know we exist." Chen moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The Intrepid was currently patrolling the Perseus boundary, the edge of known human space. Beyond this line, the United Earth government had declared a policy of non-interference with unknown civilizations, a lesson learned from humanity's own troubled colonial history. But this was different. This wasn't about exploration or first contact protocols. This was about beings in distress, even if they hadn't intentionally called for human help. "How long would it take us to reach these coordinates?" she asked. Patel consulted his tablet. "At emergency FTL, just under 14 hours. Chen returned to her desk and pressed the intercom. "XO to my ready room." Minutes later, Commander Marcus Way entered. At 6'4", with broad shoulders and perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, he filled the doorway impressively. "You've seen the signal?" Chen asked. Way nodded grimly. "I have." "Options?" "By regulations, we should forward this to Fleet Command for evaluation," Way said carefully. "Crossing the boundary would require Security Council authorization, which would take weeks," Chen noted. By then it would be a recovery mission, not a rescue," Way finished. "If anything remained to recover." Chen pulled up the ship's positioning data. "The Athena and Hercules are conducting exercises in the Arcturus system. With emergency recalls, they could rendezvous with us in 6 hours. 3 heavy cruisers against an unknown number of hostile vessels," Way said. "Not as a challenge, but as a tactical assessment. Unknown weapons capabilities, unknown defenses. The attackers' ships appear lightly armored, built for speed, not sustained combat," Chen countered. "Pirate configuration, not military." Way studied the images more carefully. "You're right. Boarding craft, minimal point defense, they're slavers, not planet crackers," Chen nodded. "They're not expecting resistance, certainly not from us." A long silence filled the room as Way considered the implications. The diplomatic consequences could be severe. First contact through combat. "Sometimes you meet your neighbors when their house is on fire," Chen said. "You don't wait for formal introductions before passing the water bucket." Way smiled slightly at the analogy. "There's also the possibility we're misinterpreting the situation. What looks like an attack could be an internal matter." Chen replayed the visual data, watching crystalline structures shatter under weapons fire, seeing smaller figures fleeing from larger armored pursuers. "No," she said firmly. "This is predation." She made her decision, squaring her shoulders. Contact the Athena and Hercules, emergency recall and rendezvous. Then set course for these coordinates, maximum FTL. Yes, Admiral, Wei replied, then hesitated. And Fleet Command? Inform them we've received a distress call and are responding. According to maritime rescue protocols. We're not asking permission, we're notifying them of our duty. Chen's expression was resolute. I'll take full responsibility. As Wei turned to leave, Chen added, and Marcus, prepare the ship for combat operations. I want a full tactical briefing in 1 hour. After Wei departed, Chen returned to the viewport, staring out at the stars. Humanity had spent 2 centuries exploring space, gradually expanding outward from Earth. They'd encountered 11 sapient species thus far, establishing diplomatic relations with all of them. But Earth itself, a heavy gravity world with extreme climate variation, tectonic activity, and an evolutionary history shaped by constant competition, had produced a species unlike any they'd yet encountered. Humans were classified as death worlders. By xenobiologists, creatures evolved under punishing conditions that developed extreme adaptability, endurance, and unfortunately, aptitude for violence. It was this last trait that made the Security Council cautious about first contact scenarios. Humanity's history was marked by warfare and conquest as much as by art and achievement. The non-interference policy existed partly to protect other species from humanity's darker impulses. But there was another side to being death worlders, the instinct to protect the vulnerable, forged in Earth's unforgiving crucible. The drive to stand against predators. The refusal to walk away from those in need. Admiral Chen turned from the viewport and began preparing for battle. Whatever species had sent that distress call was about to learn firsthand what it meant when Deathworlders came to the rescue. The Deathworlders arrive on the 12th day of the siege. First Minister Talera knew New Harmony was falling. From the emergency command center buried beneath the colony's central hub, she watched through the remaining functional sensors as the raiders, who called themselves the Carven, methodically dismantled the colony's infrastructure. The Carven operated with ruthless efficiency. They disabled critical systems first, then herded colonists into containment fields for processing. Those Artathi who resisted were not killed. The raiders clearly valued them as living cargo, but were subdued, with neural disruptors that left victims paralyzed and in agony for hours. Final status report, Talara requested, her skin now permanently ashen with stress and fear. Sub-Coordinator Riven, one of the few senior staff remaining free, consulted the dying information network. Life support functioning at 32%. Capacity: 216 colonists captured, 87 still free, mostly hiding in the maintenance tunnels. The agricultural domes have been stripped of all portable technology. And our reinforcements? No response to our follow-up transmissions, Riven said quietly. The Carven may be jamming our long-range communications. Or the consensus had received their call but couldn't arrive in time. Talara didn't voice this possibility. There was no need to deepen their despair. We should surrender, suggested another administrator, skin flickering between resignation gray and shame purple. Perhaps we can negotiate better treatment. The Carven don't negotiate, Talara replied. Their first communication made that clear. Indeed, after ignoring the colony's initial hails, the raiders had sent only one message. Your people fetch excellent prices. Resistance increases damage to valuable merchandise. A tremor ran through the command center as another section of the colony was breached. Dust filtered down from the ceiling. They've reached the secondary hub, Rivan reported. Estimate 30 minutes before they locate the access tunnels to this position. Talara closed her inner eyelids briefly, centering herself. The Artathi had no concept of heroic last stands. Their evolutionary and cultural history contained nothing like it. Yet she found herself thinking of resistance not for victory but for principle. We will not surrender, she said firmly. Let the record show that New Harmony faced extinction with dignity. The others stared at her in shock. This wasn't the Artathi way. Yet something had changed in all of them these past 12 days. Perhaps They were learning adaptations their gentle evolutionary history had never required. Suddenly, the room's emergency lights shifted to a new pattern, one Talara had never seen. The Central Intelligence's voice emerged from speakers that had been silent for days. Spatial distortion detected at system boundary. Multiple vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. Hope and dread warred within Talara. The consensus? Unknown. Configuration, the intelligence replied, not matching any registry. The remaining functional display flickered to life, showing sensor readings of the new arrivals. 3 vessels, larger than the Carven Raiders, emerged from what appeared to be artificially generated spatial ruptures. Their design was unlike anything Talara had seen, sleek but powerful, with obvious propulsion systems and what could only be weapon emplacements along their hulls. More raiders? Asked Rivan, his voice hollow. Unlikely, Talara replied. The Carven are reacting defensively. Indeed, the sensor readings showed the raider vessels breaking their formation around the colony, reorienting toward the newcomers. Incoming transmission, announced the Central Intelligence. Unknown language. Play it, Talara ordered. A voice emerged from the speakers. Strong, confident, utterly alien. The language was nothing like the musical tones of Artathi, or even the harsh growls of Carven. The Central Intelligence automatically attempted translation, but with no shared reference points, it could only offer generalities. Transmission contains mathematical patterns consistent with identification and warning, it reported. Before Talara could respond, the sensors registered a massive energy discharge from one of the new vessels. A Carven raider ship that had moved to intercept the newcomers suddenly erupted into debris. By the consensus, whispered Rivan, they destroyed it in a single volley. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching the tactical display as the first Carven vessel disintegrated under the combined fire of all 3 human ships. Target neutralized, reported Lieutenant Commander Ramirez, the tactical officer. No signs of escape pods or survivors. Chen nodded grimly. The initial hail had been ignored, and the raiders had responded by firing on the Hercules. She'd hoped to avoid this, but the pirates had made their choice. Status of the colony? She asked. Life signs detected throughout the structure, replied the sensor officer. 2 distinct biosignatures, smaller ones clustered in containment areas, larger ones moving in tactical patterns consistent with boarding operations. The raiders have taken hostages, Wei concluded. Confirmed, the sensor officer added. We're detecting smaller vessels, docked with the colony. Appears to be their boarding craft. Chen studied the situation. 6 Carven vessels remained, 1 large command ship and 5 smaller frigates. They were regrouping now, moving to protect their flagship. Open a channel again, Chen ordered. All frequencies, maximum broadcast power. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, Admiral. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Admiral Elena Chen of the United Earth Fleet. You are engaged in hostile actions against civilians. Release all captives and stand down immediately, or we will continue our attack. This time a response came. Guttural sounds that the universal translator attempted to process. Earth creatures interfere where not welcome, came the rough translation. This harvest is claimed by Carven dominance. Depart or be destroyed. Chen's expression hardened. Carven Commander, we've analyzed your vessel capabilities. You cannot win this engagement, I repeat. Release all captives and withdraw from this system. The Carven response needed no translation. All 6 remaining vessels opened fire simultaneously. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered calmly. Return fire. Target their weapon systems only. The space around New Harmony erupted into a storm of energy weapons and missile fire. The human vessels moved with practiced precision, their point defense systems intercepting most of the Carven ordnance while their own weapons struck with surgical accuracy. 1 Carven frigate lost propulsion and began drifting. Another had its weapon systems disabled. The raiders fought with desperate ferocity but lacked the discipline and training of the Earth Fleet. Admiral, called the sensor officer. I'm detecting a power surge from the Carven command ship. They appear to be targeting the colony itself. Chen's decision was immediate. All ships concentrate fire on the command vessel's power core. Maximum yield. 3 human cruisers locked onto the same target and fired simultaneously. The combined energy beams cut through the Carven flagship's shields, penetrating to its reactor. The explosion temporarily blinded the colony's remaining sensors. When visibility returned, the Carven command ship was gone. The remaining frigates, suddenly leaderless, began breaking formation. "They're running," Wei observed. "Let them go," Chen ordered. "Our priority is the colony and its captives." She turned to the communications officer. "Any response from the colony itself?" "Nothing coherent, Admiral. We are detecting transmissions, but our translators can't make sense of them yet." Chen nodded. "Prepare boarding teams. Full tactical gear but non-lethal ordnance where possible. Commander Wei, you'll lead the first team. Priority is securing the captives and establishing a communication link with whoever's in charge." "Yes, Admiral," Wei replied, already moving toward the lift. Chen returned her attention to the tactical display. The remaining Carven frigates were accelerating away from the system, clearly unwilling to continue the fight without their flagship. "Deploy defensive perimeter," she ordered. "I don't want any surprises while our people are on that colony." Talara could scarcely process what she was witnessing. The newcomers had destroyed the Carven command ship, a vessel that had torn through New Harmony's defenses as if they didn't exist, with seemingly casual ease. The remaining raiders were fleeing, abandoning their boarding parties and captured. "Colonists, they're helping us." Rivan's voice held wonder and disbelief. "So it appears," Talara replied cautiously. "But we don't know their intentions." The Central Intelligence interrupted. "Unknown vessels deploying smaller craft, approaching colony docking ports." "They're boarding us," another administrator said, fearfully. "Just like the Carven." "No," Talara corrected, studying the sensor readings. "Their approach is different. The Carven forced entry through hull breaches. These vessels are docking properly at our receiving ports." Nevertheless, tension filled the command center as they waited. Minutes passed, then the Central Intelligence reported, "Internal sensors detecting unknown life forms entering the colony. They appear to be engaging remaining Carven boarding parties." The surviving security cameras showed glimpses of these newcomers, bipedal, beings encased in dark armor, moving with startling speed and coordination. They carried devices that projected energy fields, immobilizing Carven raiders they encountered. Most shocking to Talara was how the newcomers physically engaged with the Carven when necessary. The raiders were twice the size of the mysterious rescuers, yet the armored bipeds fought with strength that seemed impossible for their frames. "Are they mechanical?" Rivan wondered aloud. "Some kind of combat drones?" "No," Talara replied, watching as one of the armored figures removed its headgear to communicate with a freed Artathi colonist. "They're biological, a species we've never encountered." Within 2 hours, the newcomers had secured the entire colony. The remaining Carven either surrendered or were subdued. The captive Artathi were being freed from their containment fields, receiving medical attention from the rescuers. Finally, the Central Intelligence announced unknown entities approaching command center access tunnels. Talara straightened her posture. "Open the doors, let's meet our rescuers properly." The heavy blast doors slid open, revealing 3 of the armored figures. The central one removed its helmet, revealing a face entirely alien to Artathi experience. Flat features, forward-facing eyes, and skin that didn't bioluminesce but remained a constant warm brown tone. "Greetings," the being said, its voice translated by a device at its wrist. "I am Commander Marcus Wei of the United Earth Fleet. Are you in charge here?" Talara stepped forward, her skin cycling through patterns that expressed gratitude, uncertainty, and wonder. "I am First Minister Talara of New Harmony Colony. On behalf of the Artathi Consensus, I thank you for your intervention." The human, that was what this species called themselves, they would soon learn, smiled, revealing flat teeth unlike the Carven's predatory fangs. "We received your distress call. Sorry it took us so long to respond. Our distress call? Talara was confused. But it was sent to the consensus, not Earth. Commander Wei explained the signal anomaly that had redirected their message to human space. A lucky accident, he concluded, for both our peoples. In the days that followed, as New Harmony began rebuilding with human assistance, Talara learned much about these Deathworlders who had come to their rescue. Humans had evolved on a planet with harsh conditions, leading to their remarkable physical capabilities and adaptability. Their history included conflict and warfare, yet also tremendous capacity for compassion and self-sacrifice. Most Artathi were initially frightened by human strength and combat prowess, traits unnecessary in Artathi evolution. Yet they couldn't deny these same traits had saved their colony. Admiral Chen formally established first contact protocols, explaining that under normal circumstances, humanity would have approached the Artathi through careful diplomatic channels. Sometimes the universe forces our hand, she told Talara during a formal dinner celebrating the colony's liberation. Perhaps it's better this way. You've seen both our capacity for violence and our commitment to protecting the vulnerable. No diplomatic niceties could tell you more about who we really are. Talara's skin rippled with a pattern indicating thoughtful agreement. The consensus has always avoided contact with species from what we call crucible worlds, planets that forge life through hardship. We feared what such evolution might produce. Her pattern shifted to one of newfound understanding. We never considered that strength could serve gentleness, that predator instincts could be harnessed to protect rather than harm. 3 weeks later, when the Artathi relief fleet finally arrived, they found their colony under the protection of 3 imposing warships, and their people engaged in enthusiastic cultural exchange with beings they would once have avoided at all costs. The treaty formalized soon afterward between Earth and the Artathi consensus would mark the beginning of a profound shift in the galactic community. The Artathi brought their art, philosophy, and biological sciences. Humanity brought its protective strength and technological innovation. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, word spread among the Carven and other raiders. The peaceful systems were peaceful no longer. They had found protectors, Deathworlders who answered distress calls even when they weren't meant for them. Sometimes the most important messages find their way to exactly where they need to go, even when sent elsewhere.